Hello my speedy giblets, and welcome to the New Year's special, the game you've all been waiting for. Well, I don't exactly know what Leviathan possessed me, but in the last few weeks I've been obsessed with playing these old racing games, and nobody made them better than EA Black Box, finally releasing this invaluable treasure in 2006. So just like when you were a child and you pick up a piece of trash from the side of the road thinking it's kinda neat, I will pick apart Need for Speed Cabron. So the game starts out with the eponymous character, Speed, entering the city of Palmont and getting some really trippy flashbacks with people encouraging him.
Start up.
Felt disappointed.
Then, just as he's winning the race, huge magnetic rays that the cops definitely have strike all the other racers. But we get away. Anyway, in the present day, he's being chased down a hill with not much context.
Hey, guess who's back?
Probably should have played the other game first. Then you have a short section where you try to get away. My escape is ultimately foiled by an unexpected cutscene. Then, the guy who's been chasing you seems a little cross.
Sit down! How you been?
But he gets distracted by some douchey dude who tells him off.
What makes you think you can bounty hunt in Silverton without my approval?
It's Cross. And this guy's from out of town.
Turns out the guy chasing you is a bounty hunter.
Been a long time, kid. What's his bounty?
150K.
Douchey dude waves at his buddies to take care of the
Dave,
bounty for you.
Take care of this guy. So, that's what you've been up to.
But he is himself interrupted by
Nikki.
Nikki, who seems a little mad.
How dare you show your face here!
Whoa, hey,
Go me!
control yourself.
Anyway, the guy who's clearly the villain says that you owe him.
Still don't know what happened that night you took off. But I do know you're into me now for some serious cash. Things have been getting a little too close for comfort around here with all these crews battling for new territory. I think I could use someone with your skills to help me out.
Do you really have to
The way I
talk
see
like that?
things, I bailed you out of a serious jam twice now. Time for you to return the favor. Nikki, what do you say you show your old friend the ropes?
Nikki is not happy but plays along.
Then let's get him started, right away.
Also, ew. Next you have to choose what starter Pokemon you want. And you get presented with my favorite character in the whole game.
Thanks for waiting up.
Yeah, sure, Nikki. Hey, who's the third wheel?
Doesn't matter. Darius made all these cars available to you. Pick one, whichever one you want.
Hey, if there's three, do I get one? I mean, I don't care which one, although I am partial to the one with the sweet rims.
Oh yeah,
Why don't you just make sure the tanks are filled?
he's a real one.
That's great. I'm the monkey!
Anyway,
Pick one. Let's get this over with.
you can then choose between 3 cars. Obviously, I chose Charmander, because after testing out all 3 of them, it was honestly the best. The other 2 had various setbacks, like Squirtle felt too heavy, especially on corners, and Bulbasaur just wasn't fast enough.
Look out, cops! Oh, it's the coffee grinder, baby!
Anywho, you escape the cops in mid-level, and you get his sick intro.
No, come on, I got no time for this.
Nikki's good. Just listen to her. And I'll stick around and I'll help out, make sure she's not too hard on you.
And then get introduced to the mechanic of cruise. basically allowing you to get one driver who is trying to help you win into every match. They are either drafters, letting you catch speed behind them, scouts, checking the track ahead of you for shortcuts, or my favorite, blockers, because you can do stuff like this. Ah, very cathartic. But now that we're talking about cars, let me tell you the thing that you'll do most in this game. And I gotta be honest, this feels so crisp. I love the driving in this game. The roads are unrealistically wide, and they make up a nonsense of spaghetti. But each area feels familiar, like I've seen places like this before IRL. And every race is absolutely littered with side alleys and places that can make corners just that little bit faster, making you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Unless you have absolutely horrible timing. The cars do feel heavy, especially starting out, but once you get up to speed, most are relatively nimble. Sure, some cars feel like driving a boat, especially the muscle cars, but I can't fault them for being realistic. The game offers two distinct driving aids. First, you have your NOS, aka your nitrous gas. It refreshes constantly, but you can last longer or have more power depending on your upgrades. And then your speed brake, which effectively makes the game run in slow motion and makes your tires slide as if on ice, making you be able to pull off some pretty hardcore turns, but also slows down your car. So sadly, every race I've tried to use it on, I did worse than those I wasn't, so I never ended up touching it. Eventually, the real game starts, and you are presented with the map. Here, you can select what races you want to do. You can select out of 5 types of races: circuit and sprint, the basic; speed traps, in which your overall speed gets tallied; the checkpoint race, in which you race by yourself against the clock, by far the easiest; drift races, which force you to make turns while not touching the walls for points, calculated based on how fast you are going and how long the drift is. Very fun actually. And last but not least, canyon races, which I'll mention soon. Most of them unlock car upgrades, but also some aesthetic modifications like spoilers, skirts, and different paint jobs. Rarely, they unlock a new car. The upgrade system is sleek but competent, and each new part has its own setting. You can choose between torque and acceleration on the engine, velocity and duration on the NOS, drift or grip wheels, and many others. And don't even get me started on how you can make your car look. There are hundreds of vinyls that you can apply and move freely. At the time it came out, it was one of the most customizable car games out there, and not many have surpassed it. So you start up, you win your first kindergarten race, and get a little cutscene involving the boss of the area you're in. They usually say some autistic line that they thought about all day before wandering off.
I heard you were back in town. Now I want to hear you're gone.
These types of cutscenes happen every couple of territories that you conquer. But I actually like these scenes. They don't offer any new information to the player, but it is nice to know that your efforts are pissing somebody off.
Go back where you came from.
Speaking of, throughout the game you'll have 4 areas with 4 main bosses. Kenji. He's a nerd. Angie. She's very Angie. Wolf. He's cringe. And the 4th boss? Well, we'll talk about the 4th boss later. So the first few races are pretty easy. So easy in fact I did them with the stock car, having only nitrous as an upgrade. The difficulty is less like linear progression and more like swerving into traffic. When it comes to beating bosses, after bullying them a little bit and effectively taking over all their territory, they challenge you to a 3-stage match in which first you have to race them in the city and then move on to the canyon races, which are actually really tense, as you have to race and maintain distance from your opponent. First round with you following him, and then with him following you. Kenji was actually closer than I thought, even passing me for a few seconds. But pushing through, I barely managed to get ahead, with half a second remaining, and beat him by a hair. After you win against the boss, and he has his little hissy fit.
No way, punk.
You get to pick some bonus rewards. The last two on the right are cosmetic, and the 4 question marks on the left contain either money, get out of jail cards, or the best reward of all, the boss car, which luckily I managed to nick off Kenji, and raced most of the game in it. You are then prompted to meet Yumi, who happened to overhear cops over the walkie-talkie the night that the infamous race took place,
I have a secret that you'd like to know.
saying that you are not to be apprehended.
Somebody interfered in a big way, and now you need a good crew to pick up the pieces.
And offers her services. Afterwards, I started taking over Angie's territory. Then Darius comes to give you a pep talk for some reason.
You got it, kid. I always said you did. Now the others are starting to believe too. Don't give up now, you're close.
And ends up being very sussy.
Darius, what are you doing? A few more races and he's gonna have more territory than you.
Well, hey, good for him. He should be cleaning up his rep. And he's taking care of my business for me. He owes us. Both of us.
You're using him.
I'm not using him. I'm the only one who knows what he's capable of. Let's get into it.
And then says some nonsense that I can't make out.
I know races are one on the track.
Nikki is not feeling very on board and runs off to discuss with you.
Drive. I remember. I was standing right over there.
She explains how, in the backstory, she was your sim.
It was so close. I knew you were gonna win. Then things went crazy.
But when the cops came, someone did the switcheroo.
This guy knocks me over. I tried to get up, but he held me down. I thought he was protecting me. I couldn't make it, so I gave you the bag. If what you're saying is true and the bag was switched, then I don't know how it could have happened.
And she never knew.
Why didn't you ever tell me about the missing money? If the bag was switched, then that's where it happened.
Also, we're being followed by that guy. But anyway, back to racing. You do one more race, and Angie comes and tries to rile you up with her milquetoast delivery.
You think you're making a name for yourself. Keep racing through my territory and I'll waste you and your reputation.
Then you quickly win race after race after race. And get a text with Angie challenging you.
You should have stayed away. Whatever anyone thought of you then, there's not gonna be any doubt now.
She was actually the easiest to defeat. After bullying her and her squad, I somehow managed to get ahead of her in the canyon race for more than 10 seconds, entirely skipping the second half of the match and winning it out right there. Sadly, not getting her car. Not that I wanted it, to be honest. Some dude then texts you up for a footy, and he's very impatient.
What's going on? You're not interested?
Turns out his name's Samson.
Well. Nice of you to show. Listen, I know you're looking to clear your rep, and you're gonna need some help in order to do that. It's just the race. That night you took off, there was something seriously out of whack.
And he ends up telling us something we already know.
Showed up at the line just to check things out. Everyone was talking about you. Then I see the alley's clear. He lets you go, and shuts it up. And the guy driving, he's got a badge on his belt. Bottom line is, the Heat had an agenda, and you took the fall.
That's all there is to it. Thing is, I can see him coming a mile away. Not only will I block him in, but I can mix it up with him too.
Thanks for the urgency.
Hey, what's going on? You're not interested?
Following Angie, I went for Wolf. He seems to be a little bit of a butthurt baby.
So, how long did it take you to spend all that money you took from me?
The man is truly the most cringe out of the three. Not only is he wearing serial killer cutout gloves, but the trench coat and spiky hair combo is not doing him any favors. Yeah, he doesn't seem very bright. So after grinding out all his races, he also sends out a vaguely threatening text.
A punk like you, no way.
His race felt a little more equal, but I still ended up smoking him in the canyon.
I let you win.
Oh, he's comfy. Somehow winning his car and spending over 100k upgrading it before realizing it handles like a boat and going back to the Mazda. Then another text pops up letting you know your next bit of backstory is available.
Meet me at the university.
Look, I just want to race. That's all I ever wanted. If you're still looking to make good on the past, I might be able to help you with that too.
And he retells how he was playing it cool.
I was playing it cool.
And how Nikki got knocked down.
Then I see Nikki knocked down. I could have sworn that the guy who knocked it down had the same bag. I can help you guys out. I'm one of the best drivers in this city, and you know it.
I have my doubts, but sure, whatever you say, dork. Just as you start putting the pieces together, Darius says that he wants to meet up.
So, the sleuth has figured everything out. You just couldn't leave good enough alone, could you? We were making bundles of cash, you were clearing your name. What more could you want? Well, things have progressed a little further now than I thought possible, and I'm gonna have to cash you out. Mr. Crawl!
Basically, he underestimated you, and is telling on you to mommy.
Come on. I didn't let you take my money the first time. What makes you think this is any different? You actually thought that I would front you the cash to save you from this loser? Then sit around while you were encroaching on my territory? Greed's always been your problem. You've got a lot to learn about the big times, little man. This city is mine, and it's time for you to disappear again.
It's Cross.
He's Cross, and also arresting you. Nikki then arrives.
Take his right to my place. Show's over.
And has a little sneaky plan cooked up.
Thanks. Glad you changed your mind.
I'm just a bounty hunter. And I always get paid. Just to make sure I do.
Then proceeds to tell you everything you already know.
Look, I hate it when people say I told you so. So here goes. Seems that some of your team was there the night that you left. They tell a different story than the one I've been hearing from Darius. Thing is, their stories seem to add up. Somebody tipped off the cops. Somebody let you escape. And somebody switched the bag. Now I know who that somebody was. Darius likes to pull the strings. Now here's something he doesn't know about. Part of the deal with Cross is that I race with you. Think you can handle that?
By paying off Cross and letting you go, she has effectively become your #1 simp.
Nikki.
The first 3 areas are about the same difficulty, and by the time you unlock the 4th, you quickly discover that any of your previous cars, no matter how upgraded, can barely hold a candle to the new competition. Feeling the need to upgrade, I bought a Porsche, but sadly, it just wasn't keeping up that well. So I did what only a sane man can do. I did one more race in the Porsche and unlocked the Corvette Z06, which is extremely fast and hard to control. But after getting to grips, Darius pays you a visit to say some nonsense.
You think you know this town? You have no idea what's in store for you other than it's gonna hurt.
And get his intro. Which I gotta say, it's kinda cool. So, I started taking over his hood, and the next 3 hours of my life were torturous. Because a mechanic that I haven't yet mentioned is getting attacked after almost every goddamn match mechanic, in which you have to do races that you already did for almost no reward at all. Seriously, they give you $500 for winning. And as I said, they happen constantly. Every couple of matches, you get bothered. I guess it's my fault for wanting to 100% everything. Still, a very annoying mechanic that I wish they didn't include. Eventually though, the wins started piling up, one after the other, and Darius had to face the truth. I was the main character in this story. Mr. Speed. To make things slightly easier on myself, I bought the Mercedes McLaren, the fastest car that you can technically buy, before beating the game. I upgraded it and went off to the races. Darius is sadly too much of a wimp himself, so he sends out his goons, which I dispose of quickly, rattling him out of his hole. He says some simpy line as if it's gonna impress me.
You know how I spent that money that you got framed for? I bought Nikki everything that you couldn't.
And then off you go. The first match against him was pretty easy. I especially liked when he realized I was gonna win and panicked. But following through, the canyon was another story. Having a couple of accidents along the way, eventually locking in and barely managing to win with less than a second remaining. Ultimately, you make Darius sad. He then brags about how he can't last as long as you and that he's faster.
The keys are in the car. Enjoy it while it lasts. There's always someone out there who's a little faster than you are. And sooner or later, they're gonna catch up.
But then he has no more smart-ass quips for you, and drives off into the ether, leaving you with the entire city. Oh, and Nikki's there too. The end. That was it. That was Need for Speed Carbon. A quick, fast-paced, customizable, cringy, and amusing time capsule from the early 2000s. The driving is good, and the cars look good. A game I would recommend any gamer give a whirl on a weekend. It is ultimately a fun, robust experience that fills me with nostalgia. Thank you for joining me. If you have any other old games you'd like me to check out, write me a comment below. Remember to like if you do, and subscribe if you haven't. I've been Iplon, and bye-bye now, racers.